Hello and welcome to On Board. My name is Andrew Rothermel. Today, we are going to talk about important topics affecting our district and community. Here with me today is Board President Joe Cerisi and Board Vice President Tom DeBello. How are we doing today, guys?
All right, how you doing?
Good to see you.
I'm doing good, thank you. So this is probably going to be your last episode. You want to let us know some of your proudest moments that you've had on the board here at Springford?
Well, this has been one great thing that we've had an opportunity to put together many years ago when we wanted to really get our message out to the public. Tom and I discussed different opportunities and coming up with a show, obviously on board. Overboard was one of the first names I think we had too, or it was a few names.
That's pretty clever. Overboard?
Yeah,
like
we tried to come up with
good.
different something.
We wanted something that was to the topic and obviously on the board. So this was one of them, and I think that over the 7 years we've done this, almost 8, maybe.
That's what we were trying to figure out. I think 2010 was the first year when we started it.
So
and
7 years.
7 years.
We've had some great shows, funny, informative. We've had people say to us that they've seen it and found out information, and things that they didn't know what was going on in the district. It's hard to go back over 12 years and say what your greatest accomplishments were. I think the greatest accomplishments was being able to work as a board, work together, and move the district to where we are today. We did it as a team. No egos got in the way along the journey. I'm proud to say that Tom and I worked hand in hand for 8 years together. There was nothing but the purpose of the district and the community and where we were headed. We had a lot of bumps in the road, and that's what happens in progress. You're going to hit those bumps. But we worked through them, I think, with our staff and our teachers and the community members. When I really started to see the turn was when we rebranded the district. I think that when we took on the whole branding idea, at first people were like, branding, we're not a business.
Right.
When we found out how many Rams we had and how many SFs we had and how many colors we had, when the crest became part of everything that we did and the letterhead began to change, and it was like a different feeling began within the district. We were all on the same page now, working together.
A little more uniform,
Yes.
I'd say.
Team. It was all one team instead of fractions all over the place. And I think that really brought us together. I don't know how you felt.
Well, first off, this is Joe's last show.
Correct.
We got to be clear about
Right,
that.
right.
That we're on board. Hopefully, we'll continue on.
If the ratings stay out.
The ratings,
You're leaving.
well, the ratings are going to soar next month. People are going to watch the board meetings again. Joe's not going to take credit for, but I'm going to list a few things that over the years that I feel that Joe was in the forefront of, and the very first one is this show, because Joe came to me and said, we need to, and we talked about possibly doing a radio show. I mean, because when we were the very first time we ran together back in 2009 or whatever, we heard, well, not necessarily ran together, but we ran at the same time. But we heard the same thing from people, and it was, they like to know more of what's going on in the district. And so we started talking about it, and he came up with the idea. He said, we should talk to, Steve Bonnettson about having, doing a show. And I said, all right. I mean, growing up in theater myself, I was like, definitely,
Sorry.
But so that was one of his, and another idea of Joe that we did for a few years, and then we haven't done the last couple of years, which I really hope for us to get back to, was board members go back to school. I think that was extremely informative for the board members to go spend a day or two in the classrooms. We used to do it around Education Week. And, it was really just being the day of a student. And, teachers, would, invite us into the classroom. And it wasn't about observing or looking at the teachers or anything like that. It was for us to see what goes on every day, so we could make sure that we're providing them the best we can, the tools that they need to teach. It was extremely, extremely informative, like I said. And it was fun too, because going back to some of the classes, just remembering, I sat in a physics class, and I'm like, wow, I had physics when I was in college, but some of the stuff wasn't even ringing a bell and coming back, But then, I mean, we've sat in Spanish classes. Miss Ewing was,
Yeah,
I mean,
I thought Miss Ewing, I had no idea what was happening.
yeah, but I mean, her class was, I mean, it was fun to sit in because she made it was very engaging with her students. I remember when I was in high school and I took Spanish, and it was, the teacher stood in the front of the classroom and we just like, regurgitated words. You know, it was just, but the way she incorporated music and different films in Spanish, the kids would translate. I mean, and you're sitting there and you're watching that and you're like, that's amazing. So that was another one of his concepts. I know that I kind of think it originated you when we talked about with Dr. Gooden about administrators go back in the classroom as well, right? So, administrators, we wanted them to go once a quarter at least to spend a day in the classrooms, filling in as a substitute, getting back into the classroom.
Limerick to Limerick was
Limerick to Limerick.
Okay.
That's probably, out of everything, the one that would last with me the longest. Not only because of what it was that we got to see these kids build a relationship across the pond with where we came from, but we also built a relationship with the administration that was over there. I mean, and we always talk about this and we kid around about it, but we went to Ireland on our own dime. I can't stress that enough. We did not get reimbursed a nickel from the school district, but we got to see what we really were doing at the program, and we got to frolic in the fields in Ireland.
Yeah, we did.
But it
Is
really,
there footage of that I can
no.
put up?
we did do that one.
If you have it on your phone, send it to me.
There is. There's
Or a
this-
picture.
Yeah, the three, me, Tom, and Bern
Bern,
frolicking in one of the fields. There was a comment made. What are you going over there to frolic in the fields? And
So we had to,
so we had to stop the bus one point.
It was a nice field, and we jumped out of the bus.
Three of
And
us
come on, we're
just
going to go frolic.
That's good.
But how often do you meet the president of a country? There's a great picture of Tom and I always share this story with friends. We're in the president's, what was that place called?
The White House.
The
president's house.
White House.
Well, it's a White House, but it's president's house.
Right. There's a name that I forget what they call it, the Irish name, but the couch in his living area was from Versailles. And Tom's sitting on one corner, and I'm sitting on the other. We're both prim and proper. And our colleague from Ireland, Noel Malone, who we had a lot of laughs with, a great guy, comes in and plops himself down like he's ready to watch the football game. And
One leg up on his couch. Him and I are sitting there very dainty, and our wives took pictures. We're like, look, we're sitting on a 18th century or whatever. It's like very like, be careful, Joe, And then Noel comes, I want to get a picture, and he just flies on the couch.
I'm like, okay, well, this is great. Thanks, Noel. But it was really, we had an opportunity to meet the president. We had an opportunity to meet the prime minister. We had an opportunity to meet the chancellor of education.
Chancellor of education. I mean, it was really, you hear about dignitaries and stuff like that, and we're school board members in Springford, but when we went to Ireland and we were on this, to really solidify this relationship, I mean, we were truly treated like dignitaries. Yeah. I mean, like Joe said, we got to meet the president of Ireland, we met the prime minister of Ireland, we met the chancellor of education, the mayor of Limerick, Ireland. I mean, but they treated us like, and it was really, I mean, and we went to the U.S. Embassy and Mr. Rooney. Right. I mean, so, but that was, Joe was in the forefront of that. Joe also, what we probably don't talk about much is we've tried a couple times, not tried, but we have done a couple times where Joe came up with the idea, and we had meetings with the surrounding the borough, like Royersford Borough, Spring City, Limerick Township, Upper Providence, like their supervisors and all that, and it was more of just a collection of the leadership within the Springford area community. Right. And the whole concept was just to people elected us to be the leaders of their community, either through school district or through township. We need to, and it's really, years ago, all you'd hear about was banging heads between townships and school districts and this and that. And we're like, it's not what we've got to come together. So we had some really good meetings. We try to do it like once a year. I don't want to go in a, I mean, there's other things, but because eventually if we keep doing this, you won't be able to get Joe in a full screen because his head will
Right.
keep going. But there was, Joe was at the Western Center. He sat on the board there, and he was very, very instrumental because when we got elected and we started to look at where Springford was and where we wanted Springford to go, and we knew what Springford could be. One of the areas that we needed to focus on was enrollment at the Western Center, and at the time we were averaging about between 90 and 100 kids a year. And when you look at the investment that we've made into, our portion, because we share that with 2 other districts, our portion that we invested into that, and you look at the enrollment, it was like, I did the math, and I talked about this at a board meeting, where our annual cost per student at the Western Center is about $25,000. And we said, and that all breaks down to the investment that we made. And we said, we can't, and so Joe was on the board, and for almost 8 years, right?
Oh, no, I guess 11.
Or 11 years, right?
Which I was a little surprised by.
And he was, driven to not only increase enrollment for Springford, but increase enrollment overall at the Western Center. They looked at, he was talking about, what programs are outdated, what new programs that we need to be brought in, and over those years. I mean, I know that they like to tease me at the board table when they say, when they give the update about the Western, say, hey, Mr. DeBello, the enrollment is up, because that was a thing that I kept. But Joe was, instrumental in focusing on getting that enrollment up, and I think we're up to like 240 plus.
Yeah, we're up there. Well, we had the 9th grade.
Right. So
exploratory 8th grade.
So there's many, many, many things that, as Joe said, we worked collectively as a board, but we have, each of us have, things that we were driven to make happen in Springford. And that was just a small list of what Joe was,
Well, I thank you, and it really is a team effort, and I think that what the difference between what we've had the last 8 years and what was prior is we worked together.
Right.
Tom and I and the board worked cohesively as a team to say, where do we need to go? How do we need to get here? It wasn't, again, there weren't fractions that came out. Well, I mean, we had a little bit here and there, but 99% was a teamwork. And we talk a lot, we see a lot in this environment today in politics, it's all very political. There was never a political moment between us. Mm-mm. Whether we agreed or disagreed on things, that was over here. We agreed on where we were going together, and right. I think that I've often talked about where we are financially because of the work that Tom did, with the business office. How we went from here to here and kept going here educationally and district-wide and growing, but with 0% tax increase. Right. It's a huge accomplishment. And what I leave for the next board is to say that work as a team. Put your differences aside and know why you're all sitting here at this table is for the students, for the community. Keep that focus. We kept that focus for 8 years. It never left our side. Everything we did was for the district, for the community. It wasn't our own agendas. That's what I think is really important, that we had no agenda.
Well, we did have, each of us, we had ideas and things.
Ideas, but
right.
Nothing personal.
No, we didn't have personal agendas. But the last I'll close with is that, Joe came to me probably, I guess it was 6 years ago or so. I can't remember exactly what was going on in Harrisburg. And he calls me on the phone and says, we have to go to Harrisburg. And I'm like, to do what? He goes, oh, we're gonna go to Harrisburg. Let's get people together. And I'm like, all right, let's do it. And the very first time that him and I went down to Harrisburg, we brought a busload, and actually Dr. Herta came with us, and we brought a busload of about 20 parents. I can't remember what, it was something that was going on.
Governor Rendell was trying to get the budget passed for education. We said we're going, and he allowed us. We spoke. Right. It was some great.
That was
pictures.
the first time we spoke in a rotunda.
Yeah, the first time, first of many.
Right. But I said to him when he called me, the first thing I said to him was, "You're nuts, right?" And he goes, "No, we could do this." I said, so we got about 20 parents together and all that, and we met up with other school districts, and we hit the Capitol, and Boy, did we hit the Capitol.
We did.
But they knew who we were.
Oh, yeah. From that point forward, Springford was, we're going to call you guys, and we got called a lot.
We've been invited, well, I don't say invited, but we were asked to come back multiple times, and we spoke on the rotunda multiple times about this, education and really fighting not only for Springford, but for other school districts. And the respect that and this all goes from Joe's idea, but the respect that we had was Senator Andy Dinnerman in Chester County was having a meeting with his school districts and his county IU. Springford, it was Senator Dinnerman used to represent Springford years ago, and then when they changed lines or whatever, he didn't represent Springford anymore. But he was having this meeting 2 years ago, and he was meeting with all school districts in Chester County IU and that. And him and I got a phone call and asked us to join him and participate in this meeting. And we went and we were talking about educational issues. So again, these are, we kind of took it and ran, but it was it all started with Joe giving me a phone call when this was going on down in Harrisburg and said, we need to go. And I'm like, oh, okay,
Right.
so, but that was 8 years, right?
Yeah, it's a long time. Look at those pictures.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, I'm sure we can make a whole show
Oh my
Well,
God,
we
yeah.
can.
out of just this.
Talking about Joe, I can tell you stories.
But I did make a video, a short little video. So
You did?
Yeah. So we're gonna take a quick break, and I'll show you the video. And when we come back, we'll talk stuff about budget.
We made it to the top 2 to 3%. It's time we make it all the way. And our goal and our vision is to go where we've talked about for many years is we become the #1 district in the state. We give our kids the most opportunity we possibly can. We make Springford the example of what education should be in Pennsylvania. This is a great success for the district. This isn't just the board wants to build. This is moving forward. We need this in order to give every student the opportunities and our community. It gives a whole new way of learning. Now, it's all to the standards, the PSSAs, but it's challenging our students beyond what a teacher can do on a daily basis when you have 24 kids in a classroom. It has to be one of the most diverse lists I think we have ever seen as a board.
Yeah.
Now, they may have chosen to go somewhere else for whatever reason, financial distance, but the list that we saw, I don't think we've ever seen so many different colleges that our kids are getting into. Point was that we need to teach our kids to be prepared now to go on to those colleges and universities across the country that have taken that step. And there are universities that are way ahead of others in technology. The kids have the computers in the classroom. All the technology, everything they're doing now is with technology. Paper is becoming useless. And what education has done is it's brought more people here, it's brought more businesses, it's brought more success. Tom said for years as we sat at this table, I'll never forget, success breeds success breeds success. And then we all come together for graduation, and you see all the years of education and how hard our teachers have worked and our administrators and our students and our parents for the time that they put into this in our community to get these kids here. And then we hear where they're all going off to school. I mean, I'm proud to say that after all these years, the schools that our kids are going off to is extremely impressive.
Welcome back to On Board. So, with the budget, how are things headed for that?
Well, we're in good shape.
Good.
And from a timeline perspective, I mean, one of the things that Joe mentioned earlier about what we revamped the business office, and one of the things with hiring Jim Fink as our CFO, one of the missions that we gave him that we asked for several years, and finally was delivered on when Jim came on board, was to put a forecast together. So not only did we budget, we started this 2 years ago, not only were we budgeting for that year, but our goal was to lay out a forecast, for the next 5 years. And, so we took first steps 2 years ago, and then last year we really honed in on it. And we have, actually, it kind of exploded out a little bit. We have a 7-year forecast. And the main reason why we did that was, it's going to be 6 years now. The district debt has a huge drop-off coming, the annual debt service. We're going to go from basically $15 million a year down to $7 because of what we've been able to do by reducing or eliminating the district debt. and in the 8 years that we've talked about, we reduced the district debt over $150 million. In the next 6 years, it's going to be we're going to reduce another $80-90 million through this plan that we put in place. So in 6 years from now, when we have this huge drop off, we're going to have basically we're going to be left with a bond about $35 million, which will go for another 5 years or so, and then we'll drop off another. So ultimately, within 10 years, the district will be completely, from the time that we got on the board, which the district was $285 million in debt.
Wow.
And 10 years from now, the district will be completely paid off. So with all that said, kind of diverse a little bit, but with all that said, we have to have a preliminary budget in place by the end of November, so it could be advertised and viewed for 30 days and all that, but we have to have a preliminary budget in place and approved by January. And for the first time since I've been on the board, the business office isn't stressing,
Right.
because they had 85% of the work or more done already. So I believe we'll be getting, I don't know if it'll be at the work session or the board meeting, we'll be getting a presentation of where we are from a budget standpoint, what our starting point is. We always, when we start this for a preliminary, we always come in and say, because this is what's required by the state, where a tax increase could be up to, not to exceed. And we're waiting to see what our starting number is. But like last year, when we did a preliminary budget, we were somewhere, we believed our not to exceed numbers around 4% or 4.2% or whatever. And through extremely a lot of hard work and planning and rethinking and reshifting funds and all that, we were able to end up with a 0% tax increase.
I think the important thing, too, is to keep in mind, the state didn't have a budget until, about 3 weeks ago? A final approved budget?
Yeah.
And we're at the mercy of the state, too, to know what I've always said, it's a crystal ball. We have to have a budget in place every year by June 30th under the law. Otherwise, we could be, what we were told, we could be pushed out of office, we could have fines against us. The state didn't have a budget till almost the end of October. We have to go with that variable and make assumptions that we're going to get X, Y, Z. Whether we're going to get it or not, we don't know. So it makes the Finance Committee's job more difficult. It makes our CFO's job more difficult. And then you have to plan for a district that makes it more difficult. It's not fair to any school district to have to be under those guides. And I've said, we even talked about this in Harrisburg, our budget shouldn't be due till after the state has a budget. So their budget should be due on January 1. Our budget's due the following month. So at least we know we're getting this much from the state. Now we can plan properly.
Right.
And typically when we put our preliminary budget out, it's typically whatever the state index is, plus the 2 exceptions that we're able to file for. So I think the index this year is going to be somewhere around 2.4%,
Right.
plus the 2. So by state following Act 1, we could raise taxes following that process up to, but not to exceed, like 4.3 or 4%, somewhere in there. Not that we're going to come in anywhere near that. I know what, following the forecast, I kind of know where we're at right now, so, and we're nowhere near that. And again, our drive is to try to be as close to zero, if zero as possible. And that's, so stay tuned. We'll, on board, hopefully we'll continue, and come January or so, we'll provide another update, because that one of the things we like to do, over the years, keep giving an update of where things are at and what's going on from a budget standpoint.
And that keeps the community involved too.
Right.
And then they can always see that.
Yep.
So our fall play's coming up very soon, actually. I think this weekend. The importance of the arts program. I know you've had a big impact on that. How is that with the importance of the arts?
So the importance of the arts, we talk a lot about, I'll say it first, is STEM. And then as a board, we moved to the word STEAM. The arts and humanity are really what life really fills our life with color. Yeah, that's been my career, is in the arts, and my passion is the arts. But I think that one thing I learned when I became a board member quickly, I was very arts driven. It was all the extracurriculars. And I got to appreciate and understand what the athletic side of it meant too. Because as a child, the arts is what kept me in school, but there are those kids who were kept in because of the athletic side of it. And I think that what we did the right thing as a board is we supported both of those programs as equals, and not one was more important than the other. And when I say that, we put a lot of money into our theater, our facilities here at the high school, into our facilities at the 9th grade center, our band, as you see, and then even our theater, as the plays that they do, the quality of the production, from the lighting to the improvements of the way the set is. I mean, we see right now, I think our last production, we had over 130 kids participate in, between on stage and behind the scenes. And there's a bond that's formed there. It's no different than a baseball team or a football team, the bond that they form when they're together. And then they take that with them for the rest of their life. Now, the show they're doing right now, Christmas Carol, it so happens that so am I.
I hear you're a big part in that.
I am a big part in that. I'm playing Tom. I mean, I'm playing I'm playing Scrooge.
Not at the school production.
No.
No.
And it's really, it's a great play. I mean, it's a musical, the one I'm in. But the play that they're doing here is also great. And it's great for our kids to be able to play these characters, the accents, the idea of when it took place, and understand. It's a lot of history in Dickens. And as a matter of fact, I think it's today's the 14th, the 17th, the movie opens.
Right.
How Dickens came up with A Christmas Carol. And it's like all the behind him when he was thinking it and he was writing it and what inspired him.
That's pretty cool.
But the arts has really been very important to us and to me personally. And to see that we have a full orchestra here at the high school, to see that our band continues to win. They just did it again this weekend. Yep. Title after title after title, and the hard work our parents put in with our students. And to see the productions and the quality of productions. When we did, last year was Fiddler on the Roof, I was blown away. I mean, first when I heard they're going to do Fiddler on the Roof, I'm like, I don't know.
It's a tough one.
Right. And it was outstanding.
Even the kid that did the Fiddler.
He was
I
great.
mean, he did a really awesome job.
Yep.
I mean, that's
the bottle dance, that they didn't even have it Velcroed to their hats.
Right.
I mean, they just had them on their hats.
Wow.
Or their head, I mean, it's just the production quality and all the rest. The arts is extremely important. And I know that the arts will continue to be an integral part of what we do here and part of STEAM, because you need to have that part to humanity. You can go into science, technology, engineering, math, but I always say this to people. I challenge you to go one day without hearing any music and being influenced by anything in the arts world. You can't do it unless you stay in your basement with the lights off and put plugs in your ears and keep your eyes closed.
Well, our students are very artistic. I mean, you mentioned about the theater, the music, the orchestra and all that. But our kids with graphic arts, and I mean the talent is just unbelievable. And again, the district providing the tools, the computers, everything that they would need to be able to do what they enjoy, and that's why we've been really trying to push towards more of a STEAM initiative, not just STEM. I will give, I know this is going to pain me, but I will give Joe one more kudo here.
Kudo.
That's an inside joke.
Kudos?
Yeah, no, it's an inside joke.
Kudo?
It's an inside joke. But I will give him there's something that we do at the elementary school called the strings program. And even before I was on the board, when Joe was on, before me, he was pushing this whole strings initiative or strings program for the students. And I don't remember how many students participated the first year or two, but last year, they do at the end of the season, at the end of the school year, they do a strings concert or whatever, and they have the kids from fourth grade,
Yeah,
fourth grade all the way up to high school. that, they do each group and they come out and they perform for the parents. And we used to do it in the auditorium, and it got so big that we had to move it to the main gym.
Wow.
Last year, we had over 500 kids participating in that strings program. And so, again, that's something that started off as an idea, started off as a very small initiative, 4th or 5th grade. And really what spawned from that was the orchestra that we have, basically, or not the orchestra,
It's the orchestra.
the orchestra that we have in place there, because the very first year they had the orchestra, I think they had like six, 7 kids in this, and now it's a full ensemble, and it's just, but these are things that, as a board, somebody has an, concept or an idea, and we, get on board with that and make it become a reality. And then when you see, 8 years later, you have over 500 kids participating in it, and then, we're not going to talk about the high school expansion today, but people did. I mean, when you see the amount of kids that are participating in something, you see why certain things are needed in a district. And when you have 500 kids participating in a program like that, it's just phenomenal.
I think that's what's interesting is sometimes people say, well, this is your thing, or what. I'm not a string player. I couldn't even figure out how to play a violin or cello or any of them. My son never participated in any of it, but I think that as a board, we see the needs and why we support these programs. And that's why I went back to is there was no personal agendas from any of us. This is what's best for our kids. Support these programs that our kids want to be part of, that expands their mind and their opportunity. That's what's important to us as board members.
And following the arts program, athletics, I mean, the fall accomplishments this year, we have girls soccer in states play,
Right.
girls volleyball in districts, girls tennis winning the Pac-10 title for the team. Just a lot of accomplishments.
Track and field, boys golf. I mean, it
You can just go down the list of all the fall sports, and there's something there.
Right, good year for spring forward. I mean, girls soccer again making it all the way to semifinals. I mean, so and we did talk about the high school band winning, cavalcade.
Yeah, all their successful.
Right. So I mean, it's and I've talked about this many times on this show. Success breeds success.
I was just going to say that. He said that many times.
Breeds
Right.
success.
But it does. I mean, there's just so much pride and energy in the district now, and so much success going on, and people just are, keep wanting to raise the bar. I mean, it's.
And the community wants to support the initiatives that are happening here. We are so blessed where we live right now, compared to districts that are around us and the issues that they're having.
And having financial issues.
Yes, it's financial, educational. Our community comes to us and says, we want to help this. What do we need to do? We put together the President's Council. I just did my last meeting with that, and I think that's 7 or 8 years too.
Yeah.
The interesting thing about the President's Council is to see how ingrained, how much time and energy that each home and school, that each booster organization, that each group puts into what's happening in this district, how vested they are, and how they work together as a team. This is points of pride for all of us in Springford. I mean, as an employee, you feel it through the district.
The community feel.
The community feels it. The board members feel it. And again, I have to say that the board, we're all community members. So it's going to be extremely hard for me at the end of the meeting in 2 weeks to walk away. I'm not walking away from Springford. My service on the board may have ended, but my service to the community will not have ended. And I know that I'm leaving it in a great place. The pride needs to stay here because Tom has said that success breeds success, breeds success. We can go all the way back to one of the first times we did this. We're at a board table, and we see it now. The houses are selling fast. Businesses are coming in. People know Springford because of the successes.
Right.
So it's bittersweet. I mean, Joe decided not to run for re-election this time, and he has some other hopes and that he's looking at the state level, and we wish him luck there. But we will miss him, just to be able to tease him. But it was Joe and I mean, it was an 8-year run that we had. I mean, we've had a huge impact, I believe, not only in Springford but surrounding school districts. I mean, we have school board members calling us, asking us advice and help and how we did things. We've been down to Harrisburg multiple times, so you know we're going to miss him. It's unfortunate, you know, he won't be with us after November. We wish him luck for the future.
Thank you.
And
I do have a great seat in the audience, so.
yeah, he's gonna. And I told him, I said, you definitely have to come to the board meetings every now and then. And once he does, I mean, we'll probably figure out a way to incorporate him into something again. But I know there was a burning question that you had. I couldn't remember. You were going to ask him.
Yeah, I heard about
I knew that
your
was-
middle name.
Yeah, Pompeo.
P. What's that
Pompeo.
mean?
Well, I mean, it's a regal middle name. I mean, Tom found a meaning in some kind of urban legend dictionary, I think, many years ago. What was that, Tom?
I'm not on camera.
You said on camera before, but
No,
we
I
stopped.
didn't.
Yeah, we were on camera when you said it.
Well, that was what we talked about before when Steve Bonnet's losing on camera. And
He lost it big
He
time.
lost it big time on camera. I didn't say it on camera, did I?
Yeah, you did.
Well, we'll leave that.
My grandfather was Pompeo. Came from Italy. Pompeo Cerrone was his last name, and the assumption is he was named after the town, Pompeii. But Pompeo is usually a last name. I've heard it as a first name a few times. So they didn't go the full Italian. They gave me the first name as Joseph, after my other grandfather, who was Giuseppe.
Okay.
So I got away with at least
Giuseppe.
Joey. You know, Joey.
Giuseppe Pompeo. Oh my God! You never told me that part. Could you imagine?
It would have been Giuseppe.
Okay.
Oh,
well,
so much missed opportunity on that one.
Yeah, well, when I come back again for another show.
right?
But are you wrapping up?
Yeah.
So I'll wrap up. I won't do your wrap up. I'll do my
Okay.
wrap up. So I want to thank you, your team that's been here for all these years, Steve Bonnets for everything that he had done for us in the district, Dr. Gooden, Dr. Roach, Dr. Herda, Dr. Cole. You know, if I go back to those days, for giving us the opportunity to work together as a team to move this district, and to all the board members I've served with, and there's been more than 9 over the years who really looked at Springford with the same vision, the same feelings. You know, the heartache that we had to do when we had to expand, and the hard times of where we were as a district. And the hardest will be to leave Tom as a board member. I have to say that because we have become not only great board members, but great friends. And with him and Bern Pettit from Philadelphia, I got it in.
There you go.
You know, we've forged a relationship that we were all able to work with each other, and our families have gotten close, and there's been great bonds of friendship, and throughout the district, bonds of friendship with different people, and people who never would think would come together and be friends, and why they'd be friends, how they'd be friends. So I want to, again, and I will do this at a board meeting, but thank the community for their support over these years. And like Tom said, I look forward to coming back here in a different capacity with a different title and continuing our work as a team, and being, you know, a voice in Harrisburg that pushes this community forward and moves Springford and the whole area to where we are now recognized on a state level and a national level for even better things and bigger things. So thank you.
Excellent. Yeah, thank you.
No matter where you end up, we'll always know you as Giuseppe
Giuseppe
Pompeo.
Pompeo Ceresi. Giuseppe Pompeo Ceresi.
Ceresi, there you
Remember,
go.
That's when we were in Italy. That's what it was. Oh, it's Giuseppe. Yeah, it's Giuseppe.
Well, you have your RCTV mug there.
Thank you.
And
And
then,
it has water in it.
It has
Let me
water
take
in
a drink.
it.
Wait.
If you finish it, you can take the cup.
Oh,
You
thank
can take the mug with you.
That's, I think, the second time in 8 years that we've had water in this. So there you go.
But you can, from
Thank
us
you.
here at RCTV, you can have the mug.
Well, thank you. And I look forward to your success on this channel.
Thank you. This has been On Board with Joe Cerisi and Tom DeBello. For more information, visit RCTV on Vimeo, Twitter, and Facebook. Thanks for watching.